Sometimes the most horrifying discoveries come from the most ordinary routines. Like imagine you're just taking out a trash one morning, something you've done 1,000 times before. Nothing special, right? Well, that's exactly what happened on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025, in a small village in East Java, Indonesia. A local villager was walking over to the dump to get rid of his household garbage. Normal day, normal chore. But then he spots something strange. A big parcel wrapped in black plastic. At first he's like, okay, it's probably just some garbage somebody tossed out. But he got more curious, so he got closer. Inside, a suitcase. Heavy, too heavy. And you know how in horror movies the characters always open the thing they really shouldn't? That's exactly what he did. He starts to unzip it and immediately, boom, a disgusting, rotting stench just hits him in the face. The kind of smell that makes you step back before your brain even catches up. Inside a suitcase, wrapped in a blood-soaked red bed cover, was a body, a woman. No legs, no head, completely mutilated. And this wasn't just some random crime. This discovery would unravel a dark story of love, betrayal, and a relationship that turned into something deadly. So, picture this. Officers arrive at the scene. Inside a suitcase, they make a gruesome discovery. This wasn't a crime of passion. No, it looked planned, calculated, and the detail that sent chills down everyone's spine. A rope inside the suitcase. The same rope believed to have tied her down while she was still alive. Her remains were rushed to the hospital for an autopsy. And that's when forensic experts pieced together the picture. A woman, late 20s, fair-skinned, about 152 centimeters tall. Evidence of violence everywhere, strangled before being dismembered. Without a face, police had to rely on advanced fingerprint scanning. And then the name came through. The victim was Uswatun Khasanah, born in Blitar in 1995 and known to her family as a kind and responsible daughter. Her life hadn't been kind to her. Her parents divorced early on, then later remarried, and she grew up under the care of her grandmother alongside her younger sibling. And maybe, just maybe, that fractured upbringing bled into her adult relationships. Uswatun's love life was turbulent. 3 marriages, 3 divorces, and 3 children she had to raise and support. To keep her family afloat, she worked as a makeup salesperson. And that's where she met 32 years old Rachmat Trihartanto, or as everyone call him, Untak. At first it seemed like love, but here's the catch. Untak was already married with kids. She knew this, yet she still fell deep into the relationship, believing his promises, convincing herself he was hers. Neighbors saw him coming and going from her house so often. Some even assumed he was her husband. Everyone knew, neighbors, friends, even casual acquaintances. To the world, Uswatun was just his second woman, his shadow. At first, maybe she accepted that, but over time, it started to eat away at her. She wanted more. She wanted a future. She began pressing him. Where is this going? Do I mean anything to you? And never really had answers, but he was clever with words. He told her he didn't love his wife anymore, that his heart belonged only to her. Deep down, Uswatun feared it wasn't true, but she believed him anyways. Then came the bombshell. Untak told her that his wife was pregnant again. It was crushing like a knife to the heart. She thought she was different, that she was the one. But in that moment, reality hit. She was never going to be his future. Furious, she confronted him. The fights drag on for days, bitter and ugly. Eventually, though, things seemed to calm down. Or at least that's what she thought. Because on the night of January 19th, 2025, Untak took her out to dinner at a restaurant on Jalan Mayor Bismo. CCTV captured her final moments. The couple walked hand in hand, smiling. They sat, ate, had drinks, and laughing like any other couple in love. Nothing, not a single sign, hinted at the horror that was about to follow. For nearly 2 hours, they sat at the restaurant, eating, drinking, talking like nothing was wrong. Around 10 p.m., they finally left and headed to Adasuria Hotel in Kediri. They checked into room 301, the room where everything would change. According to the investigators, it was inside the hotel room where their argument flared up again. Uswatun pressed him about his wife's pregnancy, demanding answers about their future. This time, though, the fight spiraled out of control. In her anger, she lashed out, cursing Untalk, even going to as far as to say the unborn child would grow up to be a sex worker. That insult pushed Untalk over the edge. His rage boiled over, and in a matter of minutes, she was dead. Her body lay silent on the hotel floor. Untalk didn't call for help. He didn't turn himself in. Instead, he made a choice that turned a crime of passion into something far darker. He called his brother Malana, asking him to come along to pick up a suitcase from his house. Malana agreed, not realizing what had just happened. The two retrieved the suitcase, and on the way back, they stopped at a mini market. There he bought a small fruit knife. Now he had a tool to carry out his twisted plan. Malana dropped him off at the hotel entrance, still unaware of what his brother was about to do. So after all that, Untalk told his brother, "Just pick me up in the morning." Simple. No hint of the horror waiting inside room 301. Once the door clicked shut behind him, Untalk got to work, and what he did next is almost too chilling to put into words. He began dismembering Uswatun's body. He started with her legs, then moved upward piece by piece. Her torso was stuffed into the suitcase. Her head and legs were sealed into separate plastic bags. When he was finished, he cleaned the room, wiping away any trace of what had just happened. Then, unbelievably, he went to sleep as if nothing had happened. The next morning, his brother Malana showed up right on time, still in the dark about what had gone on. But before Untalk even dealt with the body, he had another plan. Together, the two headed to Surabaya to sell Uswatun's car, a Suzuki R3. They found a buyer who handed over 57 million rupiah, and the brothers left by motorcycle taxi under the cover of night. By the morning of January 21st, around 8 o'clock, Untalk knew it was time to get rid of the body. He carefully wrapped the suitcase containing Uswatun's torso in duct tape and plastic wrap, sealing it tight. Then he loaded it into a rental car, one he had specifically arranged for this grim task. By 10 p.m., Untalk was on the move. His first stop was Datapon village. Under the cover of darkness, he dragged the suitcase out and dumped it among piles of garbage like it was nothing. Next, he drove toward Sampang in the Ponorogo subdistrict. Deep in a forested area, he disposed of Uswatun's 2 legs. Then, as if this horror story needed one more chapter, he made his way to Jalan Raya Desa Jemaharjo on January 22nd, where he discarded her severed head. Why scatter the remains instead of leaving them in one place? Untalk thought if he dumped everything together, someone might notice him, might connect the dots. So, he split her body apart, believing that by the time anyone pieced into all together, he'd be long gone. But here's the thing about crime. No matter how meticulous you think you are, the truth has always a way of calling its way out, and Untalk underestimated the persistence of the police. It wasn't long before investigators connected the dots, and soon the scattered remains were identified. When the news reached her parents, their world collapsed. They had noticed her absence, sure, but assumed she was just busy. Instead, they were told their daughter had been murdered, mutilated, and discarded like trash. For them, the grief was unbearable. Uswatun wasn't some troubled soul they'd lost touch with. She was a devoted daughter, someone who visited, stayed connected, and never drifted too far. They had no idea about her secret affair with Untalk. No clue about the heartbreak, the betrayal, the false promises she had endured. And then, just like that, she was gone. On Sunday, January 26, 2025, 3 days after her body was found, police tracked Untalk down in Median, East Java. When the police finally confronted him, he just stood there, calm, almost resigned, knowing he had nowhere left to hide. Right there on the spot, officers began a quick interrogation. He simply confessed to the murder. From there, things move fast. He was taken into custody and officially charged with murder. But his confession opened up a much darker question. How could a man do something so brutal to a woman he once claimed to love? The evidence suggested his motives. He had been deeply entangled with Uswatun, caught in lies, secrecy, and control. And when she finally pushed back, when she'd had enough, Untalk didn't just want her out of his life, he wanted to erase her. So with Untalk finally in custody, he actually started talking. He told the police exactly where he dumped the rest of Uswatun's body, and the authorities moved fast. That same day, they found her head in Slawi village, all wrapped up in plastic under a little bridge, and a few hours later, her leg turned up in Sampang district. So yeah, all the pieces were finally found. But here's the thing, people couldn't stop asking how he managed to cut through the bones and flesh with just a tiny fruit knife. Even more creepy, when the police tested it, the knife was spotless. No blood, nothing. So, did he really use that knife, or was there something else? Had he cleaned it with some special chemical? The cops weren't saying, but the public went wild, speculating. Honestly, it's hard not to call him a psychopath. I mean, who does something this horrific and then just goes to sleep in the same hotel room like nothing happened? Untalk even went through a 6-hour psychiatric evaluation. Would it show he had a mental disorder, maybe giving him lighter punishment? Or would it prove he knew exactly what he was doing, meaning maximum sentence? And then there's his brother Milana, who drove him back to the hotel with a suitcase. Was that all he knew? Or did he know more than he let on? No updates yet, but if he was more involved, justice would catch up, eventually. And that's pretty much where this case leaves us. Untalk's locked up. The police have the pieces of the puzzle, but honestly, some parts still don't add up. It's a scary reminder that sometimes the real danger isn't strangers, it's the people closest to us. Hopefully, justice does its job and her family gets some peace. Either way, what's clear is that Uswatun trusted the wrong guy, and it cost her everything. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.